Welcome to my channel. We're going to make some veggie stew. Very simple. Make sure to chop the garlic and let it sit for 10 minutes to get its full anti-cancer properties. Keep the peels and rinds so that you can make them into a broth later. You're going to start off with some olive oil, about 2 tablespoons or so. You can use a little more, a little less. It doesn't really matter. I have pre-chopped everything, but we're going to start adding the vegetables to this stew. So we got carrots and some onions. I'm going to get that into a hot pan. This pan's a little too hot, as you can see. It's kind of like going over. But you can add some water, stir it around, and get it kind of cooking and going. If you don't use oil, you can just use water. It just tastes better with some oil. And add water the whole time as you need to keep vegetables nice and moist. Then we're going to add a little bit of salt. You can add more or less or omit the salt completely, but I add about 1/4 a teaspoon. And I also add some garlic powder. I think I actually add a little extra later, but you can add as little or as much as you want. A little bit of dried parsley flakes. You can really add any herbs or spices you prefer for your stew. I like to keep it Mediterranean. A little bit of dried mustard, kind of gives it some depth. You can actually use real mustard too. It's Italian seasoning mix. It's just a nice, all-around mix. So you add it to almost everything that's on Asian, and keep stirring the whole time. The whole idea is to basically cook this pretty fast, so you're not slaving over a hot stove all day. The whole thing shouldn't take you longer than 30 minutes to put together. Some cracked black pepper. I like things spicy, so I put a lot in there, but you could use red pepper flakes if you wanted to as well, or not use any pepper. These are going to be the parsnips and potatoes. We're putting just that in. I like a lot of parsnips and potatoes. I like my stew pretty hearty, so I have those chopped into about 1.5 inch cubes, and I'm just putting them into the pot to get them going. At this point, the carrots and onion are a little bit softer. I mean, not totally soft, but a little softer. Stirring the whole time and adding water as needed. And then I'm going to add a little bit of vinegar. That's a special vinegar. It's aged balsamic, a white balsamic. This is some chopped garlic. You always want to make sure you let your garlic sit for at least 10 minutes. You get the full antioxidant and anti-whatever properties. I'm just I don't know what I'm doing with this big pan of water. I think I'm just I don't know. I'm just adding water to this pan with this other pan of water. I don't know. Me making soup things can get crazy. Okay, now I'm adding the celery, which is the last vegetable. And I like to add the celery last because I like it to not be too soggy. I like it to have a little bit of stability. If you like your celery to be almost non-existent, then add it with the potatoes and parsnips. But I do like it to have a little bit of bite to it. So that's what it looks like so far. And I'm just kind of stirring away, making sure everything's good. I'm adding some whole oregano. I don't know why I added this. I mean, it's in the Italian seasoning mix. I'm also adding some red wine. The only substitute would be balsamic vinegar, but just add red wine because it's delicious and it makes the stew a million times better. You can add chickpeas and beans if you want, but I really didn't want to. I wanted to keep this very simple, just a fast stew. I'm adding some NOOCH here. I'm doing about 3/4 of a cup. I don't know, I think that's a perfect amount. A cup's too much, too cheesy, and under isn't enough. It this deepens the broth, gets it a nice background flavor. I love NOOCH. NOOCH is great and everything. I'm adding a can of diced tomatoes. You can use any kind of canned tomatoes. It doesn't have to be diced. It can be the whole ones. You can crush them up, or even stewed ones would probably work. It'd be a little sweeter. And I'm just adding some water. So this is the part where basically I'm making the soup. So at this point we've cooked the vegetables down, and now we're adding the water. So any fast soup, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna cook the vegetables down, then you add water and let it all get married in the pot with the water. Once you understand the simple concept of making a soup, it's actually pretty easy to make any soup. You just have to really understand the way soups work. I've switched to this wine glass. I don't know. I guess I wanted to get every last drop of the wine out of the glass. But you get the idea. Basically, fill up the pot to the top with water, stirring, turning up the heat. You want to bring it to a boil and then reduce it and let it simmer. So fill it up, turn up the heat, crank it up, make sure to keep an eye on it, let it come to a boil, and then reduce down to a simmer. And you're going to simmer it for about 15 to 30 minutes, but you want it to taste a delicious deep soup. You're also, before doing all that, you're going to add a bouillon cube, and you're going to add some Better Than bouillon. You can either add 2 bouillon cubes or 2 teaspoons of Better Than bouillon. I'm using 1 of each. I just wanted the flavor, and some apple cider vinegar to finish it off. And then, like I said before, you're gonna let this simmer down and reduce down stirring, and it comes out like this. Serve with crusty bread. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.